I'd like to call to order our board workshop here for August 15th, 2023. Declaration of a quorum, 7 members present. Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Brings us item C, hearing of citizens. We have none at the moment. And brings us item D1, consideration, discussion, possible action related to naming TASB delegate and alternate for 2023 TASB Delegate Assembly. I think y'all know what this is. So we have to name a delegate and an alternate for the September 29th, September 29th, 30th, and October 1st, I think is the dates. So I believe Kim was our rep last year. Geraldine was our alternate. Looking at some of our newbies.
So I'll be honest, I think I said this last year too. After doing it and talking to other people in that room, especially from our Region 6 room, because part of it is meeting with our Region 6 reps, that people have done it a while really believe that there's some benefit to having some continuity. Okay. Because you know what to expect, you know some of the discussions. I mean, you guys would know what to expect too. I mean, it's, you know, the top item on the legislative agenda last year was teacher recruitment and retention. I mean, it's some very similar things that came off of our advocacy, our list. So all that said, I am very happy to do it again. I think it is really important, more important than ever, that, you know, school board members continue to have a united voice for public education.
And I have no issue with that unless there's someone who has not done it. Yeah. Exactly. Would like to, but I don't see a lot of people stepping in and yelling at me to do it.
And I'm happy to be alternate again, because, oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, because, I mean, I did actually have to step in. She had to tag me in last year for a little while.
It was a long session.
It was a very long session.
Right.
So, and I feel the same way as Kimberly, that it's important, especially right now.
Okay. So you good with that? Everybody good on that? Any other discussion? Okay, then we're gonna need possible action on this.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion for Ms. McAdams to serve as the delegate, Ms. Nolan to serve as the alternate at the 23 TASB Conference and Assembly. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you all very much for serving. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Brings us to item 2, consideration and discussion regarding TASB Policy Update 121. Dr. Harkrider? Is this Dr. Perry's? Yep.
All right, good evening, everyone. Last month, we had an opportunity to go through the 10 local policies impacted by the proposed update with Texas Association of School Boards, or TASB 121. This would be our second reading this evening, and it is on the consent agenda for this evening's meeting. And so we just wanted to have an opportunity to put it back out there for any discussion or clarifying questions that you all might have.
Anything? No? Good to go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can Ms. McAdams and Mr. Decker please switch your name tags before it drives me nuts? I don't know what happened, but I appreciate it. No, you're good. That brings us to item 3, receive an update on the 21 bond program. We have Mr. Hall and Ms. Draws. Go right ahead.
Thank you. I can't believe it's time again to update you and that summer is over, but it went really fast. So I thought we would spend some time today kind of showing you what we've accomplished this past summer, as well as since your last update, which I think was about in March. So we don't really need to look at the agenda. But first, I want to share with you kind of what we've spent to date out of the $78.125 million total on the 3 different propositions. The general proposition, we have 31% of those funds as of the end of July still available. Like I said, those are some of our renovations and the CTE Center, as well as our maintenance projects and a few other things there. So we'll get into those specifically. The technology, this will be the personal device. Mr. Hutchison has done a great job in spending this. 3% left, and I think I approved a few small purchases today. So that 147 is gotten smaller as of today. And then the Natatorium renovations with 18%, about 550,000 left. We still have some architectural things that will come out of that that's not encumbered and all, but we'll give you an update probably mid-year. We're doing very well with that particular project on our costs, so we'll be able to get, Mr. Hall said there was a few things that we didn't include that they wanted to do in there, so we'll be bringing those forward to finish that one out. Those funds have to be spent on that particular project, so we'll do that one. So last time I kind of updated you on transportation because we were slow getting buses and a few things, so I wanted to make sure you saw that. But this time I thought we would kind of spend a little bit of time on technology to kind of just let you know what we've done. So in Proposition A, that was the general proposition, there was some infrastructure items. So kind of what was that? Because some things you did see because they went over 50,000, but other things you didn't. So our district-wide network upgrades, we've done that. We've done Wi-Fi upgrades and additions across the district. Our network security, that's in the firewall and internet, classroom displays. So if it was connected to the building, then that would be an infrastructure. So those are some things we did. Video security, video cameras, and some fine arts and video. Those would be like in our secondary campuses, some things again that were connected to the walls. And then in Proposition B, a total of 3,000 new student laptops were deployed. We also had teacher laptops, and then we updated some of our computer labs across the district as well. So just kind of let you know some of those things that includes. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Hall to start talking about the construction projects.
Thank you, Dr. Hochreiter, Mr. Horak, members of the board. I'll be giving the construction portion of the 21 bond update this evening. And I'm going to start off with a couple of campuses that we just finished up this summer. First of all, Southwood Valley Elementary. As you may recall, we've broken that one into two separate phases. We did phase one summer of 22 last year. And that was, as a reminder, relocation of the principal's office suite. Did some work over there in that big kindergarten wing area, as well as some work on the front elevation. Made those little round windows go away, turned them into square windows. Some of that work. And then phase two we accomplished this summer was really for the remainder of the building. The biggest pieces of that were the library and the cafeteria, as well as all of the remaining classrooms and corridor spaces. So quick reminder, last summer of 22, the area in blue there on the left, that's what we accomplished last summer. Quick photo of that, looking back towards the principal's office suite area with the new LED lighting and flooring and everything looked pretty good. Just a portion of the building though. This summer of 23, we did phase two. You can see that area outlined in blue there, which was a little bit bigger footprint, but a lot more work with regards to the cafeteria and the library in particular. So a couple little quick photos. You've seen some of these in, I think, the weekly updates maybe, but this is the library. About a week ago, you can still see we're moving books and stuff like that in there. Turned out really, really nice over there. Got our acoustic panels on the wall and everything put in place. So looking pretty good there. The photo on the left, that's our two-level cafeteria. It used to be a three-level, a little more efficient for the cafeteria tables and everything. And you can see the screen on the stage there. The stage was extended by a couple of feet out towards the middle, and we were able to sneak in a new ADA ramp on the left side as well, which was needed over there. I just took a photo on the one on the right because I thought the floor pattern looked cool, but you know, the little dots and patterns and acoustic panels on the wall, just it's looking really nice over there throughout the building though. And Allie's been very patient with us for a lot of crazy work going on.
So they no longer have to go through the music room to get to the stage? Is that what you're saying? Because you got that ramp in there?
Well, we have access from the music room to the backside of the stage. This is more for, for your presentations and
Oh,
stuff
okay.
inside, if
Right,
we have a
right.
child with a wheelchair or something that needs access, they don't have to loop around all the way to get to the stage this way. So a
Nice.
lot more convenient.
Okay.
So the next campus I'll be talking about is A&M Consolidated High School. That was the biggest renovation project listed off in the 21 bond package. And it was big enough, and our summers are tight enough that we had to break that one into 4 phases, summers of 22 all the way through 25. Primary focus being interior finishes, carpet, flooring, paint, cabinets, that sort of thing. We've also picked up a couple of one-offs over there as well, some fine arts areas, including the auditorium, as well as some science lab upgrades. So phase 1 we accomplished last summer. That was for renovations of about half the restrooms in the building. That was coming in pretty quick succession after we passed the bond, so we didn't have a whole lot of time to design a lot. We were able to get a little jump start last summer, though. We did some work in the cafetorium as well, put a little storefront over there to keep our athletics wing separated during events. But phase 2, that was the big one. That was about 40% of the whole footprint of the school accomplished this summer. Just brought that bad boy to the finish line just about a week and a half ago. Did auditorium renovations, principal's office suite renovations, built a couple of new science labs where there were just old classrooms, so that's a lot of MEP, underfloor, saw cutting, dirty stuff to get all of that put together, but we got all of that accomplished, and of course all of the classrooms in between those areas. So going back to phase 1, here's basically a photo of what we did times about 10 or 12 throughout the building. Just a lot of new tile, new toilet partitions, fixtures, and stuff like that. Phase 2 that we just accomplished this summer, this is first floor outlined in blue. You can see on the left side of that is the auditorium. On the far right side, to give yourself perspective there, that's kind of the main entry to the building, principal's office area, and then of course all of the classrooms that are kind of sandwiched between those. So this is the first floor, and then basically stacked right on top of that is the second floor. So that all added up to about 40% of the whole footprint of the building, which was just about all we could handle in a 9-week run. We were stretched pretty tight to get this one to the finish line. Couple of photos there. You see on the left, that's one of our new science labs put together. Got a picture on the right there of Gwen Elder's office just minutes before we started piling furniture and stuff in there. So looking pretty good there. Just a typical hallway on the left there. You can see it's all the LED lighting and the new flooring and paint and everything are put together. The one on the right there is our lecture hall. That's the one that's just past the principal's office. Put all new seats, painting, flooring, took all those old wooden handrails off and put new stainless steel jobs in there and LED lighting, so looks and feels a lot better in there. And of course, this is the big one over there, the auditorium. New flooring, painting, acoustic panels, seating. That place looks brand new over there. Just looks and smells new, all of that good stuff, So great looking room now. So going forward for Consolidated High School, we still have a couple of more phases to go. We'll be jumping into our design right away for the summer of '24. That's going to be about another 30% of the interior finishes. We're going to try to pick up the cafeteria, choir, band, orchestra rooms on this next one coming up. And then phase 4 basically will be a mop-up of anything we couldn't pick up in the first 3 and finish out the whole building. And I just wanted to note, miscellaneous other, as we're going through these big portions of the building, we're also picking up fire sprinkler head replacements as dictated by code. And that's also, of course, when we're picking up our LED lighting. And so you can really tell the difference walking through there with the new LED lighting too. Just makes the place just really bright and clean looking. So the third project we tackled up, the big one this summer, was Pebble Creek Elementary School. This was a little bit different than the other ones in that we kind of tackled this one as a one summer project. We felt like this was within our means to pull off in a single summer as opposed to breaking out into a couple of phases. Reason we were able to do that is it didn't have quite as much like wall tear out and rebuild and stuff. It was primarily just the the carpet, hard flooring, restrooms, that sort of thing. So made it a little more feasible to accomplish the whole thing. We did do a little bit in the old existing principal's office suite, and I'll show you on this picture. You can see this is a footprint of Pebble Creek Elementary School. The areas shown in blue, that's where we just did finish replacements, basically, the flooring and the paint and the cabinets and stuff like that. But you can see the two little green squares in the building. That's where we did some wall tear out and kind of repurposing those areas, which wasn't too bad. And of course, we were able to get it all juggled together this summer. Finished that one just in time for school to start as well. So a couple of photos of that one. The one on the left, that's in the cafeteria. Here we've got a new layout, of course, with all the floor tile in there. And the one on the right, that's our music room. You can see they put the little squares in there so the kids will know where to sit, so they're far enough that they won't poke each other and all of that and disrupt class. But of course, you can see with the LED lighting too, just even with the photos, you can tell it just really makes things a lot brighter. Photo on the left here is just kind of a typical classroom. You know, you can see the new carpet and the hard flooring in front of the sink, new casework and ceiling tile and all that. And I wanted to add this photo on the right just because I thought the tile looked cool on the wall there. That's in the new teacher's lounge area. That's the faculty restroom in there. So moving on to the projects that go beyond this summer, you know, for getting ready for school to start. We've got a couple other projects out there. One of them is the CTE Center, Phase 1, also known as our Ag Barn. Y'all approved us to get started on that in May of 23, and that's going to be about a one-year project. A couple of months into that, we're about 18% into that project at this time. Basically, it's an agricultural barn for animal holding with some parking and infrastructure. This is a floor plan of the building footprint itself. You can see kind of the small animal wings on the left there with an arena between them. Kind of the central core of the building is an office, couple of restrooms, little concession stand, and then on the right side is a more open area for cattle for cattle pens, some flex area for expansion, and really everything you're seeing on this is under roof as well. So artist's rendering of this is looking like something like this, and it's probably a little more accurate with the yellow grass than we used to have some green grass on there, but it's been so hot. But hypothetically, that's what it's going to look like in the front of the building there. It's going to be a good-looking facility, and we're off and running. And we were able to get some aerial photos. Spalglass got some drone photos that they give us from time to time. So got some in just in time. I thought I'd drop this in just so y'all can kind of see what it looks like from above. The big white square that you're seeing kind of on in the middle there, that's the parking area. And it extends on up from there. You can see a little bit of yellow there. That's kind of where we're putting in some of the slab for the building footprint as well. So coming along really well so far. Beautiful site out there, y'all. As a lot of y'all know from the groundbreaking. So moving on, we're working on the natatorium as well. That's a project, as Mrs. Draz mentioned. It was its own proposition. That was Proposition C of the 21 bond package. The scope for that one's full renovation of the pool deck, all the equipment with it, as well as picking up locker rooms and office space renovations as well. We were able to start that in the late spring. And that'll be ongoing. It has been ongoing through the summer, and we're looking at having that completed by about October 20th right now. An artist's rendering looks something like this. You can see the space has a lot more light-colored paint, light-colored deck, LED lighting. It's going to be looking and feeling a lot different, and of course, all new tile in the pool and everything. So, a couple of construction progress photos look like this. We started the tile work on the left there. You can see as they're putting the lane markers in there, that's the first thing they do. They get all that detail stripe work stuff done, and then they fill in all the other tile, which they haven't started the field tile yet. You can see that's looking a little rough, but and this is just one of the shower rooms. We've got the tile floor in on that one. It's looking pretty good. So other projects around the school district, we have safety improvements for our security vestibules, Phase 1. That includes 9 elementary schools and 3 intermediate school campuses. Those are quickly coming to a close. Right now, we still have just a little bit of data tie-in for some of our electronic lock sets. We were hoping to have that ready for tomorrow morning, but we've got just a little bit more work to do on that, but we're very, very close on those. And then next month, I'll be bringing Phase 2 to you for the remaining 5 campuses. That would include the 2 high schools listed and the 3 middle school campuses listed. And for those of you counting on your fingers there, we have 19 campuses. That only adds up to 17. We picked up A&M Consolidated High School and Southwood Valley Elementary Schools along with their renovations. So they're not really counted in these. So, but they'll be coming up pretty soon, next month. I'm not going to discuss all of these. You can kind of scan through the list there, but thought it'd be a good idea to just add just one slide for just kind of a sampling of what we spend deferred maintenance dollars on. A lot of questions come up about that. What exactly is deferred maintenance? Well, you can see kind of these are just some of the bigger ones. You can see they're just spread out all over the school district, primarily HVAC related, roof related, but they kind of pick up all sorts of things across the district. So it's been really, really great for us to have just some funding to start tackling some of these as we process. So future projects going forward, this fall we'll be meeting with Piper Cameron and her crew out there at Cypress Grove. She's been patiently waiting on deck for hers. We'll be doing Cypress Grove in the summer of '24, so we'll be going through her design stuff this fall. And of course, A&M Consolidated High School Phase 3, there'll be another big piece of that as well. So that's what we'll be working on this fall. And of course, we always have miscellaneous deferred maintenance type projects. In fact, a couple of these I've got listed are on consent agenda for later this evening. Forest Ridge Elementary School, we're picking up another chiller over there. And then we've got some air conditioning equipment over at Rock Prairie as well. So, and of course, roofing repairs on various campuses. We've been chasing leaks on roofs. That's like a never-ending project in and of itself. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, kind of blasted through everything, and we can kind of tap the brakes here a little bit. If y'all have any questions or comments, I'll be glad to field them.
How close are we? I know the 3,000 laptops is great. Do we know how close we are with one-to-one laptops per student?
I think, I'm not sure how close we are, but when we were talking about the 23 bond coming up, I know that in that particular one, it was getting all the core classrooms with their computer set. So we are not at a one-to-one.
Okay, but
Across
focus
the
on the core.
district. Yeah, but the
Okay.
core would have a lab. With the 2023 bond, that was one of the goals that we had.
Okay. And then I know we've talked about it before and there's rising costs, but we have a couple of campuses with no or limited fencing. Where are we with because I think there was money in the 21 bond for that, correct?
There was some money, but that was prior to these safety requirements. And so what we put in the 2021 bond is not going to meet, it's not enough to meet that. So actually, we are working on some quotes, and tentatively, I may put that on the special meeting that's coming up, because we've got some that we could work on, I believe, Contrail and Cypress Grove. So we may be able to bring you something next week on that.
Great, thank you.
And we would be using probably grant funds for that one. We do have some allocated grant monies. Okay.
I'd like to commend you and y'all's teams on keeping everything to budget, and especially on schedule, which in a public sector is a feat in of itself. But I think
We're doing our best.
yeah, especially with the budget, getting those recapture.
Yeah,
savings
some
and stuff.
things are going, of course, higher than we anticipated when we planned the 2021 bond, but fortunately, we've gotten some interest earnings that I can allocate to those projects and still make them happen, so.
And I just want to say, I'm always impressed, whenever I get to walk back through these schools for various reasons at the change and how they really do look like new campuses. Once you guys have gone in, and Melissa's here with BOK, and they do a great job reimagining some of those spaces as well, which, baffles me. They do. It all looks really good, and I got to go on a console yesterday for schedule pickup, and the front looks awesome. So,
Yeah, it does.
yeah.
Yeah, I really agree. It is quite amazing how much you get accomplished in the summer, especially the 3 big school projects that needed to be done. And it really does. I mean, we're taking 30, 40, 50-year-old schools, and they really do look new. So thanks to all the team for the hard work, and of course, thanks for our taxpayers for keeping our, buildings up to date for our students and getting it there on time. So thank you.
Anything else?
Okay.
Thank you all very much. That'll bring us to item 5, consideration, discussion, and possible action related to the 23-24 budget and tax rate.
We got
What
one
did I
more.
say? Did I skip it? I'm sorry. I had it marked off. My fault. Consideration and discussion regarding calling a possible bond election for the November 7th, 2023.
You want to do it?
That's kind of a big one, huh? I was going to see if y'all really wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
So we have Mr. Glenwinkle and Ms. Draws again for that. I appreciate it. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Horak, Dr. Harkrider, members of the board. Later this evening in the regular meeting, we will be asking you to approve an order of election to call a bond for November 7th of 2023. With that being said, you guys have known about our 48-member committee who put this recommendation forward to you guys in May. In June, we went through all of the projects in great detail, and then we had the opportunity to kind of go through that again in July along with the ballot language, which we'll talk about a little bit more this evening, and just give you guys one last chance to ask any questions you may have before the meeting this evening. As you know, the committee put forward projects totaling a little north of $350 million. By law, those will be separated into 4 propositions. Proposition A, the general proposition. Proposition B, which will be technology devices, which we talked about earlier, which will get us up to at least 1 set of computers for every core classroom. Proposition C, the football stadiums. These are expansions at both of our high school football stadiums to 6,700 capacity, along with some major renovations at A&M Consolidated High School as far as concession stands, press box, and the locker room field house facility. And then Proposition D, which is baseball and softball stadiums, largely would supply turf onto all 4 of those stadiums with some renovations at A&M Consolidated High School softball stadium. These are all the projects associated with Proposition A. We've been through all of these. Majority of these projects are really revolve around our high schools and increasing the capacity of those from what they currently are to approximately 2,700 apiece. This will put us 10 to 15 years from considering a 3rd high school. And you can see all the projects there. Again, we've been through them in detail. The ballot language for Proposition A is this. It's more detail than we've shown in the past with ballot language. And it basically gives a brief overview of all of the projects on Proposition A. Proposition B is there because that anything technology, anything other than security equipment or infrastructure has to be in its own proposition. So those technology devices right there for a little more than 14 million. We talked a little bit about Proposition C. Those have to be on their own referendum because they are stadiums with seating capacity of more than 1,000 spectators. And then Proposition D, the baseball and softball stadiums have to be on their own proposition because they are a recreational facility other than a gym, playground, or play area. Here's the language for those. It mirrors the language of Proposition A. It just doesn't look as long because there's not as many projects associated with these 3 propositions. But this is what the voters will see when they go to the poll should you call the election later this evening. Just a quick reminder, we anticipate if $350 million of bonds are sold, that it will increase the INS tax rate approximately 2 cents per $100 of valuation. And we talked a little bit last time about the M&O rate and the amount that it'll be going down, and Amy will touch more on that here in this next presentation, but that number is north of 20 cents. And so net tax rate increase, should these bonds pass, will be in the 18, 19 cent lower range. Here we are on August 15th. Like I said earlier, we'll be asking you guys to adopt the order of election at the regular meeting, which is ahead of the deadline of August 21st to call the election. We'll do bond communication August through November, and then it'll be time to vote come late October. And with that, I'll answer any questions or entertain any comments.
There'd be a lot of reading on that ballot, but I think it's necessary for our propositions. There's like 14 state amendments, and we're always going to be last, but I think we owe it to the voters to know what they're voting on. I think that'll be a net positive on page 16.
And I had pointed out to somebody today where there's more information out on our website about, about all the details in the bond. I think and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the June meeting and that PowerPoint from the June meeting really has that next level of detail of all the projects for people to look at.
That's correct. And I will say here within the next month, there will be a website that's completely created that has all the information on it, so people won't have to go dig for a presentation to see it all. It'll be up front and center for anyone in the public to see.
Wonderful, yeah, because my 2 cents, obviously, it's a lot of money, but it is meeting a lot of needs in our district. I mean, we've been talking about it for months now. It's capacity, right, that's needed for our schools. It's safety, it's technology, it's transportation, and then it's just money that we need as a district to maintain our millions of dollars worth of assets, that are our taxpayers' assets. So, we went through the right process to do it, right, with our committee, and so I am definitely think it will help College Station, meet the needs of our district for many, many years to come. So.
And
that's
you guys were there. A lot of you guys were there for the committee meetings for some of them, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't just call out the committee one more time, just for the serious nature and way in which they took the whole process. They were really invested in the process. They worked really hard on it. And poured a lot of effort and conversations outside of the meetings amongst themselves into it. And so they feel really good about the proposal set forward. And so I think we as a community should as well.
Yeah, they wrestled with a lot of these decisions. I watched them wrestle with a lot of them. And they did. They poured a lot of work into this. And, there's something to be said about having pride in your spaces and, another way for our community to show pride in what we have in the school district.
I thought Dr. Johnson did obviously an excellent job facilitating that committee. You kind of touched on that where there was no steering. It was literally the committee coming up with what we have today based on feedback within their own circles and community members that they know that might not have been on the committee. So I think we need to take that into consideration that this is something that was put together by a larger conglomerate, and obviously this is what we have based on that. And there were a lot of things that were on there that are not here. And that was the tussle that was going on, and we appreciate that more than anything. Obviously, the big thing is the number that you look at, but then obviously you look at what that does with the tax rate and things like that, and it's positive in the way I look at it. We actually get to say where the legislator says this is a tax increase. I don't have to fight against, this isn't a tax increase. I get to actually say, yes, it is, and here's what it is. It's 2 cents. So I hope that's okay. But they, you know, the taxpayer and the community members, they've got to see that and understand it. Our ballot language, I'm glad we did what we did because we went back and forth on that, of course, with Mr. Golbus. And that's key, especially this year, for those that might not educate themselves to the degree before they walk in that ballot box. So excited about that to see what happens, assuming this goes through tonight. And again, can't say enough about the committee that spent long hours in their time doing this.
I just want to add one other little thing, that one of the other nice things about this is this money could never be recaptured, right? This is our taxpayers supporting our schools, and that money will, you know, stay here in College Station.
Anything else? We appreciate it. I got it. Appreciate it, y'all.
All right, it's all you.
Item number 5, consideration, discussion, and possible action related to the 23-24 budget and tax rate. Ms. Strauss.
I feel like everybody's leaving me. Let me get the right one here. I feel like it. I got to get to the right spot. Sorry, I should have had it at the beginning to start with. Okay, thank you again, Mr. Horak, Dr. Harkrider. So one last time we get to talk about the 23-24 budget. We've been doing this since about March. And one last time before we bring it back to you on August 22nd. But we'll again touch on the legislative session and summarize that. Really just focus on 23-24 at this point and the adoption and the property values and property tax rate. And then once again, kind of look at fund balance as well. So the 88th regular session and the special session, this is kind of a summary of the impact it has had on our 23-24 budget. First of all, what's called the guaranteed yield, that's part of our funding formula, did go up from 98.56 to 126.21, but that was originally scheduled. That was not really changed by this legislative session, but they didn't increase it, they didn't decrease it. They could have looked at that. A lot of talk about increasing the basic allotment as a way to bring school districts additional funds, but there was no increase in that basic allotment through either of those sessions. The safety allotment, a lot of talk about safety. We all know that from last year. The safety allotment increased from $9.72 to $10, so 28 cents a student. It increased, as well as all districts received $15,000 per campus for the purpose of safety. Also, in that 88th regular session was a requirement for all campuses to have at least one armed individual on site during school hours. Then came the special session. So this special session is still subject to the election. So what the election is going to do is basically allow the funding for this one to happen. But we're still supposed to assume that it does pass for our budgetary purposes. But there was in addition to tax compression that we'll talk about in just a few minutes, there was an additional 10.7 cent reduction that's being mandated to all M&O tax rates, but that is subject to a tax rate floor. So there's a tax rate that districts cannot go below, so we'll look at that as well. And then increasing the homestead exemption from its current $40,000 for a residential homestead to $100,000. And much of the money allocated will be for a hold harmless, so they're making sure that districts don't lose money with this particular exemption. So state money would be used for that purpose. So I wanted to spend a couple minutes talking about property value growth, because we know the past 2 years across the state values have increased, but College Station ISD has really increased the last couple of years. So a lot of people feel like because property values increase, the school district receives more money. But this graphic, what it's showing is on a per student basis, because we get funded based on weighted average daily attendance, but it shows what happens with that growth. So on a per student basis, you can see year one, what our property taxes and state revenue would be. And then year two would be assuming that our property values grew. So you can see there's no increase. Unless they increase the basic allotment, which they did not do, there's no increase in that total, just the distribution of where it comes from changes. Okay? So that's something that sometimes I explain it, and then 3 weeks later, I'll hear, but you got, a large increase in property values, so we're going to get more money. It does help our debt service side, absolutely, but on our general operations side, it does not. So what does this mean for College Station ISD? So in 2019, when they did the state funding formula and made a lot of changes, they did what they called required property tax rate compression. So if our property values grow by more than about 2.5%, that we are required to lower our tax rate. Even that 2.5% doesn't necessarily bring us growth. It's still that distribution between state revenue and property taxes. So according to our certified values, we were going to grow close to 18%. So under old law, that would mean our M&O tax rate was going to go from about 91.5 cents to 80.4 cents. So we're going to have a decrease. Then Senate Bill 2 in the special session says an additional 10.7 cents. So now we're going to go from 80.4 to 69.92 cents on our M&O tax rate. Now this is where that floor comes into play. Because we can't go below a certain amount. So we're not decreasing quite 10.7 cents. I think it is more than 10, but not quite that 10.7 because we cannot go below that 69.92, which does include all of our enrichment pennies that we've been able to add, which is 8 cents. So overall, property value growth, this is considering the $100,000 homestead exemption, not 40. So what I've done there is I've put two different values here. One is at 40,000 so that you can compare apples to apples when you want to look at what did our property values really do. So that is the green bar. So right at 18%, which is what we've been predicting for about the past month. If we look at the same $40,000 exemption for 2023 that we had in 2022. But then, of course, we're required to use that 100,000. So that then would take that growth compared to last year to just over 11%. I do remind you that we are in, this next year will be year 2 of grace, what they call, because of our property values did not come within the confidence level of the comptroller's value study. So you get 2 years who are in year 1 of grace last year, which means we still got local values, but we need to get in this year because we do not want to get to a point where they assign us state values for funding purposes because we would then be at a loss of revenue. So looking at the total tax rate, looking at keeping the debt service rate the same at 26.3 cents and that's 69.92. So that makes a total tax rate of 96.22 cents, down that 21.5 cents. So you can see that there. If you look over the past 6 years, that's a 43.5 cent decline in the total tax rate, or 31%. And think back to last year, so this also includes that voter-approved tax ratification election that we had. So that 3 cents that our voters generously approved for us is factored in here as well. So looking at the budget assumptions that are utilized, at the numbers you're fixing to look at, enrollment growth of 1.6%. So that's looking at a total enrollment of 14,717. And I will tell you, I look at snapshot date, which is end of October. So that's what that 14,489 is. An attendance rate of 94.8%. That's the same we had last year, and we did improve a little bit. So I'm hoping that that improves again. We're getting back there. The homestead exemption at 100,000, that property tax rate at 69.92 cents for the general fund, and factored in some assumptions of reduced ESSER support to the general fund for next year. So compensation and benefits, much of which was already approved in July. So this just summarizes, and I put all compensation and benefits, even if it's additional positions, because we did add some three assistant principals across the district, as well as some stipends and some special education positions. Of course, the healthcare increases that we talked about, but all compensation and benefits is a little over $4.2 million to the budget. And just a brief summary of some of the other major additions that we are experiencing. Of course, safety and security, trying to comply with House Bill 3 and that the armed security at all campuses. We've got the ESSER property and casualty insurance that you'll be asked to approve tonight or allow us to bind. Utilities, a lot of inflation here. But since I've been here, we really, other than utilities and fuel and property, we really have not made any increases, and inflation is catching up with us. We're struggling trying to stay within budget. So quite a bit of inflation here on some other items that we really need to put in. So the general fund in total revenue of $144.2 million, or just a little bit higher than that. $146 million in appropriations, so about $1.7 million of expenditures that exceed revenue. Now, I will tell you that teacher incentive allotment will come into the general fund this current year is about $1.7 million. I've not included that at this point. We'll get a confirmation of the dollar amount, and once we get that, then I will add it like I did last year in a budget amendment. Debt service, so you can see our scheduled payments as well as what we would need to collect in property taxes for that. And we should be able to do all of that with, as well as an early bond redemption payment to save long-term interest at the 26.3 cents we have currently. Child nutrition is expected to have a balanced budget. They've had some really increase in participation the last couple of years, so they should have a balanced budget. And this is kind of the format that you'll be asked to approve next week. So it will have the three required funds: a general fund, debt service fund, and child nutrition fund for a total. So that's the format that you will see it in next week. So a little bit on fund balance. So the past couple of years, you've been asked to take action on undesignating some fund balance or unreserving it to put it into the category, kind of looking at our operating expenses and where we want to be with 75 days. I don't feel like we will need to do that this year, that we need to reallocate any of that fund balance. I think that we'll still meet our mark. But also, you know, for looking at what we're reserving it in, some of it is land or emergency construction, just like trying to meet our deductibles if we have a major insurance claim again. And to take them much lower, it's not going to be enough to accomplish that. So I'm not recommending that we make a change on that this year. So I think we're going to increase our total fund balance slightly from the prior year. So we're headed in the right direction, because you can see we're the highest was there in 2019. So, and with that, I'll take any questions or comments you might have.
Same comment as last item. I'm not shocked, because I've come to know your work, but I am always amazed at how you're able to make the budget work, even with the state essentially defunding.
I wish it were a balance when I was bringing you, but we'll work toward it.
Given the constraints that are placed upon us, which essentially is punishing even good districts, you're doing a great job being a fiduciary for the taxpayer, rewarding the teachers. I'd like to remind the teachers that 2% is not indicative of the value we place. It's just all that we can do, given the state taking money back from us. But I love that graphic. Do you remember what slide number that was? So when people go, because I know we have lots of online fans that like to look at
This,
The
which one?
briefings after we're
That
done.
one?
The next one.
That one.
One more. The little block of the year one and year two with the comp. Keep going.
Which one?
You're going back. The compression. That one.
That one. Okay.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. So we have not had an increase in our basic allotment since 2019. And Texas Association of School Business Officials did some calculations. Their estimate is if it had moved with inflation since then, it should be about $1,000 higher.
more. I think I may have heard that same, I heard it on a podcast. And one of the other things they also said is that in the last biennium, that there was over $6 or $7 billion of local taxpayer money that went back for recapture, but did not go to schools, right? It just went to the state. So, I mean, that is extremely painful because we're not going to be the only district that's having a deficit budget to try to, to give a little raise to our teachers and our staff. Lots of school districts are having to do that across the state, so.
It's funny, you brought up recapture, so I didn't make note of that, but because of that 21-cent decline in the tax rate, it does move College Station out of recapture.
Okay.
Of course, that's based on the enrollment of 1.6% growth, so we'll see what happens, but it did take us back out of recapture.
And that was something I was going to ask about. Also, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, Ms. Draws, but first off, I'm always amazed at how you are able to make this work. Because the way, and tell me if I'm doing this wrong when I talk to people, I explain to people that we are not a private corporation that can just take on a new client
No.
and make more money,
Well, I mean,
Right. And
it's
so
a group
we
effort.
are-
It takes all of us to
Right.
really make decisions in the best interest of College Station ISD and our students. We spent a lot of time cabineted on
Yeah.
compensation and, what is it going to take to help us recruit teachers and where does that salary schedule need to be? And, there's other things that we would like to do that we did not bring forward.
and still have money in the budget for programs for students.
That's right.
There's that too. So I'm amazed, and this makes me a little sick to my stomach, especially thinking tonight that, we're going to approve the insurance that's a 30% increase, and yet no increase in funding. So thank you for all that you do.
We're fortunate that we have student growth because that
We
does
are.
help as well.
We are.
Okay, any other questions?
Anything else? All right, we appreciate it. Thanks,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Strauss. Bringing us to item 6, consideration and discussion regarding setting a date for a joint meeting with the City of College Station City Council. I believe you have that, Dr.
Yes, sir. This was, I guess, on your agenda prior to me getting hired. So we have worked with the City of College Station and narrowed down 2 dates before a City Council meeting, October 12th or the 26th. So Carrie has got out an email. I think 3 or 4 of you have responded. It looks like right now the 12th may be the better date. Dr. Payne did point out October 26th is the Thursday before the Consolidated versus College Station High football game. So there may be some activities going on. So I think he's leaning towards the 12th. So that may be the date we pick out. We'll get everybody else's information back, and then we'll get an email out to you this week, but we should have that date set by Friday.
And remind me, did we say a time?
I believe it is 3 p.m.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, before their city council meeting.
Okay, thanks.
All right. There's nothing else. We will move to item E, adjourn.